In elementary school, a kid named Yukio, don't remember, the kanji transferred into our class. He was small with vaguely mixed race features and gave off a creepy vibe. Yukio didn't have parents, he lived with his grandparents. The teacher didn't explain his circumstances, but I heard it directly from Yukio himself. At first, we bullied Yukio, not extorting money or anything, just elbowing him as we passed in the hall, cutting his pencil case with an X-Acto knife, falsely accusing him of farting during assembly. Pretty harmless stuff, I think, but it was still probably hard on him. Yet despite his usual creepy manner, he gets strangely stubborn at those times, never crying or complaining. He didn't tattle to the teacher either, so since it wasn't much fun, eventually we stopped bullying him. But Yukio missed school a lot. Don't recall the frequency, but I remember he was absent all the time. Our school had a rule, then that classmates from the same area brought homework to anyone absent. It was my job to take Yukio his bread from school lunch. His family lived pretty far, but was on my way home. It was an old wooden house, looked just like where an old couple would live. I never went inside. Somehow it had an unpleasant vibe. I didn't like it. Whenever I brought the bread, his grandma always answered, and I immediately left. One day Yukio was absent again, so I went to deliver his bread. When I rang the bell, unusually Yukio himself came out. He looked sickly, maybe had a cold. Yukio invited me inside, saying he had some great toy or game he wanted to show me. It was something I'd wanted too, so I went in, brushing off the creepy feeling. I was a little shocked entering Yukio's room. Stickers and seals were plastered all over, including what looked like charms from shrines. The Fujima I entered through was completely covered edge to, for example. What's with all these? Grandpa and Grandma put up the charms, but just those felt creepy, so I added stickers. Some looked handwritten by Yukio himself. Why not tear those charms up? Grandpa would get mad if I did. Yukio climbed up. That day we played in his room for about an hour before I went home. The next day Yukio was absent again. The teacher asked me about his condition. I said he seemed kind of off, and she replied, "I see." He didn't call in sick either, so I wondered how he was doing. Why not call him? I did, but no one picked up. Were his grandparents there? Didn't see them yesterday. Tell Yukio for me to call when he's going to be absent, Hulk. That day I again played at Yukio's. He had a ton of the toys. I enviously asked where he got them all, and he said his mom and dad bought them. Where are your parents anyway? Dead. Yukio said it bluntly. How? Car accident. As he fiddled with the toy looking down, I felt bad for prying and changed the subject. You going to school tomorrow? Dunno. You oak dude? The teacher said to call when you're gonna be out. Sorry. Telling me doesn't help. What about your grandparents? They're in the back room. Well, tell them then. I can't sleep. Oh, my mom and dad come in my dreams and call for me. Over and over. Yukio, Yukio. It's scary, so I can't sleep. Yesterday, they grabbed my arm. They're trying to take me away. I was getting freaked out and said I had to go home. But Yukio clung to me desperately. I get you're scared, but I can't exactly sleep over, right? Why not? My mom would worry. I stopped there, thinking, crap. Yukio fell silent, looking down. I was so uncomfortable I half dashed out of his house. The next day, Yukio was again absent. The teacher said she'd come along, giving me a ride to Yukio's after school. No reply when she rang the bell. Inside, she grimaced at the entryway. Zipping our shoes off, we went in. Nobody in the kitchen or Yukio's room. Exiting his room, there was another to the right. I figured that must be the back room Yukio mentioned yesterday. When the teacher slid open the Fujima, she froze, quickly sliding it shut again. In that instant before her body blocked the view, I saw inside Yukio's blood-smeared face. After that, I think she called the police. I can hardly recall anything beyond that point, but the police did come. The next day, the teacher informed our class that Yukio and his grandparents had died. But she didn't mention the blood, just that they had died. Later, I told the teacher about Yukio's dream. She listened silently for some time, then told me not to tell anyone, and explained about Yukio's parents. Their deaths were suicide. They had attempted a murder-suicide of their whole family. Yukio had somehow survived and went to live with his maternal grandparents. Hearing that, I wasn't particularly shocked. I had kind of sensed it. A few days later, I was called in by the police and recounted going to Yukio's house. I also told them about the dream. The officers kept grilling me if I was making it up. I insisted over and over it was true. You really heard that story directly from Yukio at his home? Yeah. The teacher there with me had an uncomfortable look. The officer gestured hurriedly at her. Taking that as a cue, after thinking a bit, the teacher said to me, "Listen, when you and I went to Yukio's house, at that time," she seemed reluctant to say it, "I had a bad feeling. When we went, without a doubt, Yukio and the others had been dead for some days already.